Hey everybody, it's Lon Seidman, and today we're taking a look at the HP Sprocket Studio. This is the latest small form factor printer from HP, and this one prints the largest photos out of their line, 4x6 prints. That's 102 by 152 millimeter size printouts here. And this printer uses a dye sub process, so the photo quality on this sprocket is better than that of some of the other sprockets, including the one we looked at last year that print out smaller photos using a thermal printer. We're going to take a closer look and see what this printer is all about here in just a second, but I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, this printer is on loan from HP, so when we're done with this, it goes back to them. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. Nobody is paying for this review, nor has anyone reviewed or approved what you're about to see before it was uploaded. So let's get into it now and see what this printer is all about. So let's take a closer look now at the hardware. This printer costs $149.99. That will also include a pack of paper and a ribbon to get you started. Additional packs cost $34.99 for a pack of 80 prints. That includes the ribbon that you need to print out with and the photo paper. They come in one of these boxes. It's about 44 cents a print or so. So not all that expensive, and what I like about dye sub printers like this one is that if you don't print all that frequently, it will come up and work without having to unclog inkjets and all that sort of thing. So for occasional printers, this is a very good option just because you won't have any issues with the printer sitting idle for long periods of time. You load the paper up into this tray. We'll go through the loading process here in a second. You've got a nice little tab here to pull it up with. The paper tray also doubles as an output tray. They do recommend, though, that you leave the back of the printer clear, and the reason is that the paper runs through about 4 times for every print that you make. It puts a different color down with each pass, and I'll show you how that works in just a second. The paper tray here will come off for transport. You just hit the little locking mechanism here at the bottom and detach it, but it does need to be attached for it to print. I believe they have a carrying case for it that you can use. Now, unlike the other Sprocket printers, this one is not battery powered by default. It does need to be plugged into the wall, but they do sell a battery pack for about $50 that lets you take it out somewhere on the road, but there's no internal battery with this one. Like the other Sprockets, it connects up via Bluetooth to your phone. You cannot print from a computer at the time that I'm recording this video, so everything has to be done with the Sprocket app on your Android or iPhone device. But they make it very easy to use, and it connects up with all of your different social media accounts, and we're going to check in on how that works here in a second as well. Now, the ribbon goes in on the side here, so we're going to take out the ribbon that I used initially with the printer here, and you can see there's a yellow color to this because each of the colors of your prints will have a corresponding color here on the ribbon. So we're going to take out the new ribbon here and just open it up from our pack and install that. It's not all that hard to get it up and running here, and once it's in, you can start printing pretty much immediately. There's no cleaning or warm up or anything else like that. It's a pretty quick process. So we're just going to slide this ribbon in here and lock it down, and then we're going to take out the paper pack here and load it up into the paper tray, and that is all you need to do. You do need to make sure that the glossy side of the paper is pointing upwards, which we have here. And now we can get the printer plugged in and start printing, which we're going to do right now. Okay, so we're going to begin just by printing out a photograph, and what you do is load up the HP Sprocket app, and you'll be brought to the photos that are in your photo gallery on your phone, whether it's Android or iOS. You can then pick out a photo that you want to print out. We'll take this one here of my 2 girls, and I could just go ahead and print this and not do anything else to it, but what I could also do is click on the edit icon here, and I'll have some additional options that I can apply to the photograph. So I can do some basic editing, like some photo filters and things that you might see in your favorite social media apps. I can also do things like some basic color correction here, or brightness and contrast adjustments. They also have some cool frames here. So for example, they've got these little seasonal things here, like 2019 for the beginning of the school year, or I can maybe choose this one, which works a little bit better for my photo. I did find with these custom borders with text that they tend to work better in photos that were shot vertically. But some of the other features here you'll see can be adjusted for vertical or horizontal positions. So I'm going to go with this little overlay there and be happy with that. I'm going to click the checkbox here to lock that in. But I am going to go back and edit here and maybe add a couple of stickers to the mix here as well. And they've got some seasonal things here that we can add to it. You also have the ability to do some things of your own. You can draw in your own little icons if you want. Now what I can do with this as I'm adjusting the sticker here is I can rotate the image here just by twisting my fingers around. I can do my pinch to zoom here to make the hat larger or smaller and just kind of put that on her head here, and you kind of get the idea as to some of the customization that you can do. If you've used the other HP Sprocket printers, this is exactly the same interface and exactly the same app, but the difference now is that we're going to get a much bigger photo. So what I'm going to do now that I'm happy with the way this photo looks is I'm going to hit the print button here, and that will begin sending things off to the printer. Now it does take it about 15 or 20 seconds or so to get all the data received and then begin the printing process. And the prints themselves take about a minute and a half or so to go from start to finish once the printer actually begins the printing process. So we're going to let this one get started here. Let me just show you what you'll see and what you can expect here as things print out. One thing that I noticed is that you should probably look out for the rear power cable here and make sure it's going in this direction so you don't block the rear of the printer, because as you can see here, it's going to take that paper and spit it out and then suck it back in as it goes here. So here's the first layer of color that's going to be put down on the photograph. And there you can see it's running the yellow layer first. And then it's going to go back out and back in again to print the next layer of color. What I was surprised about was how good it's able to keep the color registration. In other words, things aren't really falling out of their position here, so things do line up quite nicely as the photo prints out. I did notice that some of the finer details, like really straight lines or text, might look a little fuzzy, but generally most pictures here seem to work okay. Now what happened here is I had a photo loaded in from before that's printing out right now because the printer was out of its ribbon and paper, so it actually held it in queue until the cartridge was replaced here. So we're going to be getting this photo in first. And this actually is a good opportunity because if we jump over to the app again, what you can see on here is there's a little icon in the lower left-hand corner with a cube, and what you can do there is point your phone at the printer, and it will normally recognize the front of the top of the printer here and give you an idea as to which photo is coming out next. So you can get a visual representation of the photo cue. So as you saw there, that picture we just doctored up with the two girls sitting on the step was just visually shown to be printing out next, and that's how this stuff works. So that photo now is printing out of the printer, and when it's done, we'll take a look and see how these photos look. So here you can see what the image looks like right when it comes out of the printer. I do think the images here look really nice, certainly more so than some of the other smaller Sprocket printers that are in HP's line. The images, though, are not as good as what you'll get out of like a 6-color inkjet printer that's designed for printing photographs, but I do think the overall aggravation factor and cost of ownership with this one might be a little bit better, given that you don't have to worry about using ink to clean out the nozzles and whatnot. So for me as an occasional printer, I think this will work quite well. Now when the prints come out, you're going to see you've got a border here at the top and the bottom. What it will do is overprint that border so that when you snap off these edges here, you'll have a nice full bleed photograph. You don't get too much of the perforation that's visible afterward. They're very small little perforations on here, so it's not going to feel all that cheap, but you will feel a little bit of roughness here where those perforated edges were. But overall, it looks like a decent, glossy 4x6 photo that you can distribute out to family or friends or just put up on your wall somewhere. Now, one thing to note on the Sprocket Studio prints is that they are not stickers. So on the other Sprocket printers, you can peel off the back and stick them onto your scrapbook, for example. These will have to be adhered with tape or glue or something because the paper here is just a traditional print. Now, another cool feature of the Sprocket printers is their augmented reality feature. So I was in Berlin, Germany the other day, and I took a picture here of the Berlin Wall, or what's left of it. And as you can see here, as I move the print around, I can see the live photo here playing as video overlaid with that print. And it does a fairly decent job of keeping everything aligned. Now, what you can also do is print out a still frame from a video that you have on your phone or on your Facebook account, and it will then play the whole video back in AR when you point the phone at the photograph. You can see an example of that here. My wife set up this really cool thing in our entryway where we have a bunch of photos that we just have hanging, and when I point the phone at it, I can see that one print play in video right alongside some of the other still prints that we have hanging up there. So I thought that was a pretty cool feature. One issue I'm having with the Sprocket Studio at the moment is that the AR doesn't always kick in until you get really close to the photograph. So it's going to take a little bit on the Studio prints to get this feature to kind of turn itself on here. They are working on that, they tell me, so hopefully by the time you see this, they'll have a lot of those issues resolved. But once it's up and running, it's pretty cool. Now, another thing you can do with this is get other metadata. So for example, it'll show me all the other pictures that I took on that date. It'll also show me other photos from where I was in that particular location. So you can see I took another picture of the back of that piece of the wall. That pops up here. You also get some information about where you were, and I was just by this S-Bahn station, so you can get all the information from Wikipedia on that. And then if you click the other icon here, you can actually get a Google map of the entire area, and you can use your phone and move it around and see the Google Street View of that particular location. And that information can get embedded with every photo that you print out here on the printer. And if you have a friend who has the HP Sprocket app installed, they can see the same metadata when they point the phone at your prints as well. So that's a pretty neat way to get a little bit more out of your photographs. For video, if you are going to share a photo with somebody and want to have them see the video, you'll need to make sure that you're uploading the video as a public video to the supported social media platforms like Instagram or Facebook. Now you can also take pictures with the app, and they've got some helpful stuff like this ID photo taker where you can get your face aligned properly and take a selfie for a passport or something like that. They also have a fun photo booth mode where you can go in front of your selfie camera, for example, with a bunch of friends and print out a little photo booth photo here with a couple of shots in quick succession, so that's pretty fun. They also have the ability to print out a photo as tiles. So for example, you can make a single print like this one, or you can have it print across multiple pages and use those in your scrapbook to make a really cool mosaic style print of a single photograph. So a lot of neat little things that you can do with the printer here. And again, I'm really pleased with the quality of the images that I'm seeing coming out of it. Now I do have a couple of words of caution for you on the app. There is no secondary confirmation after you click on print. So when I click the print button there, it is going off and I've got another 44 cents out the door here. There's no secondary confirmation. The other thing is that the printer will accept any connection via Bluetooth from the HP Sprocket app. It's probably not as big of a deal with this printer given that it does need a power source most of the time, but there isn't any kind of authentication to prevent someone who's not invited from printing out stuff on your printer. So if you have the HP Sprocket app installed, it will find it via Bluetooth and start printing. And it can have multiple people connected to the printer at the same time. So that can be kind of fun at a party, but it may not be so much fun if you're at an airport or something and somebody happens to see that your printer is available via an HP Sprocket app that they installed. Not a big deal. The worst thing that happens is they make a couple of prints on your printer, but nonetheless, there is no way I can see at the moment to lock out unauthorized users from printing on your printer. So overall, I'm very pleased with the quality of the Sprocket Studio here. It's certainly much better than the other HP Sprocket printers because it is using that dye sublimation process, which delivers just a better image overall. And again, I think the key advantage of this over maybe an inkjet printer is the fact that there's no penalty for letting it sit idle for long periods of time. Again, when you boot up that inkjet printer after having it sit idle for 4 months, it's going to have to go through some cleaning. You're going to lose some ink in that process. You might have to go through that cleaning process a few times to clear out the nozzles. Not with this thing. It's ready to go no matter when you last printed, and I think that's a key advantage here. Again, the image quality will be better out of one of those inkjet printers, but it's going to be marginal, I think, for most people who are just printing out these 4x6 prints casually. This is the only size, though, that this printer prints, so it's 4x6 or nothing. But this is the kind of stuff my wife prints all the time, and I think it will be a nice gift that I might get for her this holiday season. It's a good thing she doesn't watch the channel, so she'll be surprised when she gets it. And if you have a photo printer in your life, I think they might enjoy this one because the images do look pretty nice and it's a lot of fun to use. Until next time, this is Lon Seidman. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters. including gold-level supporters the Four Guys with Quarters podcast: Chris Allegretta, Tom Albrecht, Mike Talbert, Brian Parker, and Kalyan Kumar. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/s.